the chamber to the people. Let the voices ring. Laws are made. Debates take the wing.
I know we are going to be reposed with responsibilities.
Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Watch the Senate and the House of Representatives, where decisions flow. The Parliament, the place to know. The Parliament, see power at play. The Parliament, your window into democracy at work, only on Global Television.
Hello and welcome to your parliamentary program, The Parliament, which deliberates on legislative policies from the chambers of the National Assembly to the voices shaping Nigeria's democratic journey. Welcome once again. I am Anieti Patrick. Each week we bring you the latest decisions, debates and developments from the hearts of the legislature, the bills shaping national policy, the motions addressing citizens' concerns and the oversight actions holding the government accountable. The National Assembly resumed plenary after resting its sitting for the Eid Fitr celebration and some party conventions to budget report presentation, as the Nigerian Senate approved a massive 68.32 trillion naira budget for the 2026 fiscal year, following the adoption of an expanded spending proposal by President Bola Tinubu.
The approval comes after lawmakers endorsed an upward review of the initial budget framework by about 9.09 trillion naira. The Senate also extended the capital component of the 2025 budget to June 31st, allowing more time for the execution of ongoing projects. To fund the ambitious budget, the federal government is banking on a mix of increased revenues and fresh borrowing. A $10 increase in oil benchmark price is projected to generate over 2.5 trillion naira, while reforms in the telecommunications sector could bring in about 874 billion naira. However, over 6 trillion naira is expected to come from external borrowing to bridge the funding gap.
An increase in the external borrowing by 6.16 trillion naira. All this combined together partly was used to reduce the debt burden from the revenue from the telecommunication, while the combination of the $10 increment and that of the external borrowing was used to fund the additional 9 trillion request made by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Lawmakers say the budget is designed to fast-track infrastructure development, strengthen institutions, and stimulate economic growth.
And our rules allow by Rule 39, but they have done a fantastic job, and I'm very impressed. And I must commend them for this report, which has been sent to us, and congratulate all senators. And pray that this $5 billion so approved by the Nigerian Senate today will assist this administration to meet its capital obligations and then take Nigeria out of the current financial doldrums. I thank all of you.
The 2026 appropriation signals one of Nigeria's largest spending plans yet, with expectations that increase investments in transport, governance, and public services will boost productivity and improve service delivery across the country.
In the same vein, Nigeria's House of Representatives has taken a major fiscal decision, adopting the 2026 appropriation report and approving fresh external loans requested by President Bola Tinubu. The decisions followed the presentation of the Appropriations Committee report chaired by Abubakar Bichi.
The House, on the first legislative day of the week, has moved decisively after considering the report of the Committee on Appropriations, which recommended a total budget of 68.3 trillion naira for the 2026 fiscal year. The report outlines key allocations, including over 15.8 trillion naira for debt servicing, 15.4 trillion for recurrent expenditure, and more than 32 trillion naira for capital projects aimed at driving infrastructure and economic growth. At the Committee of Supply, the recommendations were adopted, marking critical steps in the passage of the 2026 budget.
The bill as presented contained the estimate of the revenue and expenditure of the federal government for the 2026 fiscal year in the aggregate sum of 58,472,628,944,762 naira only.
The total sum of 68,309,818,667 naira only, of which 4,799,911,806 naira only is for statutory transfers.
In the same session, the House also approved President Tinubu's request to secure $6 billion in external loans. The borrowing plan includes a $5 billion facility from First Abu Dhabi Bank through a structured financing arrangement, as well as a $1 billion export finance loan from the United Kingdom. According to the President, the loans will support budget implementation, fund priority infrastructure, and refinance existing debts. The funds are also expected to boost key national assets, including the rehabilitation of the Lagos Port Complex and Tinkan Island Port. With the adoption of the budget framework and approval of new borrowings, lawmakers say the focus now shifts to implementation and ensuring value for money in the 2026 fiscal cycle.
Also, the Nigerian Senate has approved additional external borrowing of $5 billion from First Abu Dhabi Bank and another £1 billion from United Kingdom Export Finance. The approval followed a request by President Bola Tinubu, which was read on the floor of the Red Chamber. In the same report, the Senate also at plenary extended the expiry date of the capital component of the 2025 budget from 31st March 2026 to 30th June 2026.
The presidential correspondence read on the floor of the Senate on Tuesday from President Bola Tinubu explained that the external borrowing is aimed at supporting budget implementation and critical infrastructure upgrades. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, who read the communication, said while the $5 billion is intended to plug financing gaps in the 2026 budget, the £1 billion will be deployed for the rehabilitation of Lagos ports.
The establishment of a structured total return swap TRS external financing program of up to USD 5 billion with First Abu Dhabi Bank. Those in support say aye, those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Also at plenary, the Senate extended the expiry dates of the 2025 budget from 31st March 2026 to 30th June 2026. Presenting the bill before the Senate, Majority Leader Okpeyemi Bamidele and Deputy President of the Senate, Jibrin Barau, said the extension became necessary to enable the completion of ongoing capital projects across the country.
This situation, if not urgently addressed, risks exacerbating the already troubling incidents of abandoned or partially executed projects across the country.
It's very, very important that time should be given so that the projects that have been started, that are ongoing, be concluded. Otherwise, we'll go into the problem of abandoned projects, which is inimical to our progress.
With lawmakers backing fresh external financing and granting more time for capital spending, the move signals government's push to bridge funding gaps and fast-track key infrastructure projects nationwide.
Meanwhile, the Senate has directed the Inspector General of Police, Tunji Disu, to commence a comprehensive investigation into the recent killings in Angwa Rukuba, Jos, North Local Government Area of Plateau State, where at least 28 persons were reportedly killed. The lawmakers also resolved to send a delegation led by Senate President Godswill Akpabio to commiserate with affected communities.
The resolutions followed a motion of urgent public importance sponsored by Senator Dinkat Blank, Plateau Central, and Senator Dachong Wakon, Plateau North, who raised concerns over the worsening security situation in Kanam and Jos North local government areas. Leading debate on the motion, Blank lamented that Plateau State, once celebrated as the home of peace and tourism, has witnessed a resurgence of violent attacks after years of relative stability.
Senate further note that this recent attack appears to be a well-coordinated and well-orchestrated targeting defenseless citizens in a densely populated area bubbling with social, economic, and religious activities.
Contributing to the debate, lawmakers expressed concern over what they describe as the increasing complex nature of the crisis, noting its economic, ethnic, and religious dimensions. They urged the Senate leadership to expedite the proposed National Security Summit if it would produce practical solutions to the country's growing security challenges.
What is the fate of our security summit now? Because the same thing is happening everywhere. Today, surprisingly, it has even moved into security.
Recently in my senatorial district, during fasting, Carlos Lize went in Dandime local government, they kill about 18 people. And most of these people are ISWAP and they are operating in Africa.
The frequency at which these people arrive is worrisome. And what are we going to do about it? We are admonishing that a sincere and heavy approach to this type of wickedness should.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Deputy President of the Senate, Jibrin Barau, urged security agencies to adopt proactive strategies, including permanent bases in volatile areas, improved intelligence, and increased recruitment into the police and armed forces, reaffirming that the protection of lives and property remains a primary responsibility of government.
Prayer 2. Direct the Inspector General of Police to commence investigations and bring the culprits to face the full wrath of the law. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
It is, however, hoped that the perpetrators will be brought to book owing to the mourning the state is being thrown into.
On political realignment, a fresh wave of defections is sweeping through Nigeria's political landscape as parties reposition ahead of the 2027 general elections. The African Democratic Congress is the latest beneficiary, gaining 8 lawmakers, while the APC also gained 9 lawmakers who defected from the new Nigeria People's Party to the APC in the House of Representatives.
The African Democratic Congress has expanded its presence in the House of Representatives following the defection of 8 members from rival parties. Among them is George Ozonubi, Deputy Minority Whip, who left the Labour Party alongside other lawmakers from Anambra and Lagos states. Several members of the People's Democratic Party also joined the ADC, citing internal party crisis as the reason for their decision.
Mr. Speaker, following my recent resignation from the People's Democratic Party, PDP, I write to formally notify you of my decision to align with the All Progressive Congress, APC.
In a parallel development, cross-carpeting continued across multiple states, with defections recorded to the All Progressives Congress, Labour Party, and other smaller parties, highlighting growing political shifts nationwide. Tajuddin Abbas, Speaker of the House, read the defection notices during plenary on Tuesday. The lawmakers attributed their defections to the internal crisis in their former parties. The fresh twist in Kano politics, according to the former APC National Chairman, Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje, are interpreted as a consolidation of grassroots political structures, strengthening the APC's foothold in the state.
We are really so happy today, and we thank them for that. And we thank Mr. President for providing an enabling environment for other political parties to see that APC has an enabling environment and APC has the climate of accommodating other members of other political parties, and we assure them of full integration into our party.
Meanwhile, another major shift unfolded as the House Deputy Spokesperson Philip Agbese, who represents Ado Okpoko Ogbadigbo Federal Constituency in Benue State, defected from the APC to the Labour Party, saying the move reflects the will of his constituents and a strategy to win future elections.
Basically, our strategies are going to be centered on how the Labour Party is going to win election in Benue State. Of course, we don't know who is going to be the presidential candidate of the party, but I know that the Labour Party will be contesting all the elections in Benue State.
With more defections expected in the coming months, Nigeria's political landscape appears set for a major shake-up as the race towards 2027 gathers momentum.
Let's take a breather here, and on the flip side, we'll bring you more unfolding of legislative proceeding. Please stay with us. It's good to have you back on the Parliament. Let's take a look at the committee level. The House of Representatives Committee on Maritime Safety, Education and Administration has drawn a firm line insisting that transparency, measurable outcomes and accountability must define the 2026 budget of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA. At the agency's budget defense session, committee chairman Khadija Abba Ibrahim made it clear that vague projections and weak performance will no longer pass legislative scrutiny.
Nigeria's maritime sector is under fresh scrutiny as lawmakers and regulators align on stricter performance targets ahead of the 2026 budget cycle. House Committee Chairman on Maritime Safety, Education and Administration, Khadija Abba Ibrahim, stressed that heads of maritime agencies must take full responsibility for their plans, projections, and results, describing the exercise as more than routine oversight, but a critical accountability test.
It's a mandate given to us to oversight and to interact with you regularly so that we have an insight into what is going on in NIMASA. It's not anybody witch hunting anybody, we're all mature.
NIMASA is projecting a bold 724 billion naira in revenue for 2026, with spending targeted at maritime security, infrastructure upgrades, and seafarer development. Lawmakers are demanding detailed data-backed plans that show exactly how safety programs, human capital investments, and revenue strategies will translate into results. Defending the proposal, Director General Dayo Moborola insists reforms are already in motion. He points to the full automation of operations and revenue collection through the Mokasa platform, designed to eliminate leakages and boost transparency. On the long-delayed cabotage vessel financing fund, he says a tougher bank-led framework is now in place, with about 60 applications already submitted by local shipping firms.
This budget is actually on the assumption that NIMASA will be fully automated on the issue of revenue, collection and utilization.
Despite these assurances, some lawmakers raised concerns over the timing of the 2026 proposal, questioning the absence of a comprehensive review of the agency's 2025 performance.
The Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, is calling for a unified approach to fast-track the creation of an additional state in the Southeast. He says collaboration, not division, will determine the success.
Deputy Speaker and Chairman of the House Committee on Constitution Review, Benjamin Kalu, is proposing a merger of ongoing agitations for Anim and Anioma states into a single unified entity, Animoma. He made the call while receiving stakeholders of the Anioma state movement, stressing that state creation requires broad-based consensus and cannot be achieved in isolation. Carlo emphasized the critical role of governors and key stakeholders across both the Southeast and South-South regions, noting that legislative backing alone is not enough.
Who is joining us? Why should they join us? I've heard you talk about where the capital will be and where the capital will not be. That one is political. So we look at political element, we look at geographical element, we look at economic resourcefulness of that particular step that we want to take. We look at our history, our heritage.
The Deputy Speaker urged proponents of separate state demands to embrace compromise, warning that disunity could stall process. He added that negotiations must also determine key issues such as the proposed state capital, insisting that dialogue and democratic agreements remain essential. Kalu reaffirmed the National Assembly's commitment to addressing the long-standing demand for an additional Southeast state, describing it as both achievable and necessary if stakeholders act with urgency and unity.
For me, if you ask me what I want, what I will propose, I'll propose what will reflect the core indicators that we should look at in creating states: geographical location, geographical spread, the history of the people, the heritage of the people, viability.
Leader of the delegation, Senator Ned Nwoko, said the visit was to appreciate the Deputy Speaker's support, while traditional leaders described the Anioma agitation as a long overdue effort to affirm identity and inclusion.
Excellency, we are here as the people of Anioma. Anioma people are Ndigo. As far as we are concerned, Igbo, and they have come to express their support towards the creation of Anioma state.
As calls for equity and restructuring grow louder, the push for an additional Southeast state now hinges on one message: unity or nothing.
The Senate has screened May Nasara Ilo, nominee of President Bola Tinubu, for appointment as Director General of the National Anti-Doping Center as part of efforts to strengthen integrity and regulatory compliance in Nigeria's sports sector. During the screening session, Eloy emphasized the importance of establishing a functional anti-doping system to curb cheating in sports and safeguard Nigeria's eligibility for international competitions. Let's take a look.
The president's nominee for the Director General National Anti-Doping Center noted that global sporting standards now require countries to maintain credible anti-doping mechanisms, warning that failure to comply could expose athletes and national teams to sanctions.
The United Nations decided through UNICEF that a collaboration would be necessary with the International Olympic Committee to stem the tide of cheating in sports.
Also speaking, Director General of the National Institute of Sports, Philip Shoaibu, stressed the need for stronger collaboration among stakeholders across the sports ecosystem to reposition Nigerian sports for global competitiveness. He said revitalizing the sector would require coordinated institutional efforts and sustained policy implementation aligned with national development objectives.
For the vision of the president and the vision of Nigeria in sport, for us to actually occupy the space that we need to occupy in sport, those that he has appointed, from the chairman of Sport Commission to the DG of NIS, DG of Sport Commission, and the federation have to work together.
Chairman, Senate Committee on Sport, Senator Abdul Ningi, said Nigeria must prioritize competent leadership and professional expertise to restore its past sporting glory. According to him, institutional reforms and strategic governance are critical to improving performance standards and enhancing Nigeria's competitiveness on the global stage.
It is our desire as Senate Committee to give the President all the needed impetus, all the needed supports in order for us to move Nigerian sport to a greater height.
Meanwhile, Chairman of the Senate Committee on Narcotics, Senator Ibrahim Dankwambo, raised concerns over funding and technical capacity, particularly regarding collaboration between the proposed center and the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency.
From the recent data and statistics that we have had, use drugs, not only in sport, in criminality, even in politics.
Responding, a lawyer disclosed that discussions were already underway with the NDLEA to leverage the agency's operational expertise and resources to support anti-doping enforcement and testing processes. The Senate Committee is expected to submit its report to the Chamber for further legislative consideration and confirmation proceedings.
Well, that's the much we can take on this edition of the Parliament. See you next week on the Parliament on Global Television, which is on DSTV Channel 365 and Star Times Channel 276. To stay connected, kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen using @Global TV NG. Thank you to my production team. Until I come your way the next time, I am Anieti Patrick. Thank you for watching.